There are lots of different Crassula Ovata types, and they can all be propagated using the techniques that we're going to show you in this video. Crassula Ovata is commonly called the jade plant, and it is easy to propagate from cuttings. We're using stem cuttings of different sizes, and we'll propagate them both in soil and water to show you the differences, and you'll be able to compare for yourself the success of each method. The cutting size is the first consideration. Smaller cuttings with thinner stems will generally send out roots faster, so this large cutting will take longer. However, it will still work. The main thing to consider when taking the cutting is to take it just below a node. The nodes are these little rings around the stem. The nodes are where the plant will send out new roots from. You don't want a large section of stem below the node, as this will just rot and can cause the cutting to fail. You should also trim the stem of the mother plant back to just above a node, as this will prevent dieback on the mother plant, and the mother plant will reshoot from that node. Preparing the cuttings before planting is important. You need to remove any foliage that will be below the soil level, or if you're using the water propagation method, any foliage that will be below the water level. Try to leave enough stem free of foliage so that it will be firm in the soil. You can take cuttings at any time of the year, however, spring through summer are generally the best times. The advantage of stem cuttings over leaf cuttings is that you get an established looking plant almost immediately. The success rate of stem cuttings is also much higher than that of leaf cuttings. Once you've taken the cutting and removed the lower foliage by snipping it off, not tearing it, you need to let the cuttings callus over. Simply put them in a shaded position for around 3 days. Once callused over, the cutting will look like this. We're going to use a normal potting mix in this example, as this is what most people have access to. A specialist cactus and succulent potting mix or propagation mix can also be used, and this can be better because it's freer draining. Once your cuttings are prepared and callused over, they're ready to plant. When you're propagating in soil, simply make a hole in the potting mix, insert the cutting and firm it in. You will see that this potting mix is moist. No watering will be needed until the soil dries. With large cuttings like this, use a few stones to provide extra support. You don't want the cutting to move around, as this can disturb root growth. Don't water the cuttings in. Leave them for a week or two and then water them lightly. Wet soil can cause rot, and so let the soil dry a little between waterings. With water propagation, simply place the cutting in the water like this and make sure that you change the water every 3 days or thereabouts. You need to keep the cuttings out of direct sun in a cool position. After around 3 to 4 weeks, you should have root growth on both the water and the soil propagated cuttings. Here's our water grown cutting. You can see the roots developing. Here's a similar size soil grown cutting, and the root development is stronger, as you can see. We have watered these cuttings before showing you the roots. We won't water them again until the soil dries. And here's our largest cutting, and you can see root development, but it's slower than that of the smaller soil grown cutting. Care after the cuttings have developed roots. With the water grown cutting, once it develops roots, you'll need to pot it up in a similar way to what we've potted up the other cuttings. All of the cuttings need to be kept out of the hot direct sun for around 10 to 12 weeks, and then acclimatise slowly to the sun. Keep the temperatures warm but not hot. Water when the soil dries. A wet dry cycle is best. If the foliage begins to shrivel, you're underwatering. However, this is a lot better than overwatering, as that will cause rot. And yes, you can propagate jade plants from leaf cuttings, and we'll go into that in a separate video. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments section. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for regular updates on a whole range of succulents and indeed a whole range of garden plants. And as always, Good luck with your gardening.